So this video is going to be a little different. This is going to be my gardening plan. Up on screen, this is my seeds that are left over from last year are already in here. And I'm just going to show you how I have this whole thing set up. So this is the name of the seed. This is the amount per square foot. Then the date to plant, the transplant date, and the last plant date. And these are all equation boxes that come off of the plant frost date range, which is how many weeks before the last frost to start things. For instance, onions need to be started in January. The days to maturity, which are not actually on most of my packets, so a lot of these are made up based off of what I've seen in the garden. This is my weeks to transplant, which is pretty much just a copy of the plant frost date range number moved over. But it's how many weeks that they're going to sit in the seed kits before they go outside. Some of these things can go out pre the frost, so they're shorter. This is a blank box for the date planted because I tend to print this sheet out and use it while I'm out in the garden. This is the projected harvest date, which is the plant date, the first planted date, plus the days to maturity. It's a projected harvest date. It is just projected, though it's not completely accurate. Alright, this is the date harvested. This is also left blank. This is again for when I print it out, so I can write the plant date and the harvest date, and then I can figure out the days to maturity that are going to go here, and I can write it in here in the notes so that next year, because I will just copy this for next year, I can change the maturity days up or down depending on how long it took. Alright, so this is the seeds I have left. This is not an exhaustive list. I am not getting my seed catalogs till November. There will probably be a video about that. I can't guarantee the date because I have no idea when I'll get them. But yeah, these are the ones I have left. I have onions and celery and snapdragons, nasturtium, I always pronounce it wrong, vincas, lettuce, peas, eggplants. They're not in alphabetical order, obviously. They are in first plant date order so that I can just glance at the sheet and say, oh, it's January, I need to plant the onions and the celery. Oh, it's February, I need to plant all of the flowers and some of the lettuce. No, just all of the flowers actually. But that's how this sheet works. It's a nice thing to have to take outside because the computer is not going to come out in the garden with me. Okay, so now we can go on to the actual plants. So this is for the backyard. I have this crazy idea of doing like a miniature or hobbit style garden in that little green bed that if you watched the tour of my garden over the summer, you have seen it. It had onions and carrots in it this year. So I thought that this would be pretty cool to do like miniatures. Scallions are kind of like mini onions. Do like dwarf tomatoes. I have dwarf eggplants. I have tiny little chocolate bell peppers. I got little gem lettuce, which was like a freebie seed pack that I haven't planted yet. And then I've seen like the mini jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, you know, the ones they use to decorate. That's if I can actually grow squash, because so far, not a single one. That's not true. I got them from the vacant lot garden, but never from my backyard. So then this here is a squared off version of the garden bed, because if you've ever seen it, it's got that angular wall, which makes this a pain to figure out. But this is the closest I could get it in square feet. So I figured I'll do one last hurrah with corn, and I'll do it in that back corner because I finally got a garden tester, and my sunlight, oh my gosh, that garden gets way too much sun. It was like at the absolute maximum highest sun setting in the backyard, and it was cloudy that day. So, yeah. So I'm gonna try and shade the rest of the garden in the hot afternoon because the sun sets like in this general area. So that will hopefully shade some of this. Okay, so then here I'm going to do lettuce, then summer bush beans, and then brassicas. And I just put brassicas because that's the fall garden, and I am not planning that far in advance. And I have half a dozen brassicas. I have tatsoi and bok choy and broccoli and kale, and there's probably more that I can't think of right now. And then in here in the big area where I have the corn that didn't work and a lot of beans, way too many beans. I was going to change this around. It might be a little bit hard to get out, but I'm planning to put a climbing wall for stuff here. I'm going to try with the cucumbers in the fall because I actually have cucumber plants out there right now that I planted in like September, and it was a little late, but the bugs went away in July, the end of July and the beginning of August. The bugs went away. So if I could plant the cucumbers in August, I might actually get cucumbers here, which would be nice. But in the spring it will be fall. Yes, in the spring it will be fall. No, in the spring it will be peas. And then I'm just going to put marigolds in front of it because obviously, we'll see. I might put marigolds in there because I had them in there this year and they did pretty well. Okay, and then for this rest of the section of this garden, I'm going to do onions, celery, and carrots. Onions, celery, carrots. Not specific varieties, although the Denver half-longs that they sent me as a freebie were amazing. They did so much better than the rainbow carrot seeds I have. Unfortunately, those I used up, and I still have like 500 of the rainbow carrot seeds that have to be finished. So, we're doing rainbow carrots again. But I might buy some Denver half-longs for in here anyway. Okay, then on to the pots, which I have like 57 of, if I remember correctly, or something crazy like that. So we're doing 25 tomato plants of 3 different varieties, which I don't have here because I haven't put varieties in here yet. So there will be, they're either Rutgers or they're large red cherries because I forgot to write down which one was which, again, and I don't know. They're mystery tomato seeds. There's some variety of red normal tomato seeds. Yeah, we'll go with that. So that'll be some of them. Then I have the Brad's Atomic Grape, which were phenomenal, which we'll be planning mostly those because they were just so popular with my family. And they don't split. Like, they still split. All tomatoes split if you go like a week without watering and then give them way too much. But they don't split nearly as much. So they're good for me because we'll get like, even if I'm watering good, we'll still get like rainstorms that drop like 5 inches of rain, and it's like, okay, all my tomatoes are going to be split tomorrow. Then we're going to have the black brandywines, which were the big tomatoes that I planted this year, which I loved. But they seem to have something against cool weather because they died at like the end of August when it started to cool off, and it didn't even really cool off till October this year. But what I did notice was the Woolly Kates, which were my freebie tomatoes that they sent me. The Woolly Kates took off. Like they didn't produce anything over the summer. But then the moment it started to cool off in the fall, they took over. And there's like 20 Woolly Kate tomatoes out there. So I'm thinking that I will just pull out the black brandywines and replace them with the Woolly Kates. That's the plan anyway. Okay, for peppers, I have a lot of varieties. I have chocolate bells, mini orange bells, Jimmy Nardello. I know there's more to that name. And something that sounds Icelandic that I can't pronounce that didn't come up this year but we'll see if they come up next year. I think I just didn't treat them right in the spring. So yes, 21 pots of peppers because I got a lot of pepper seeds. And I'm gonna do 7 of the eggplant, and they're the stripy kind, which they're not in English either, the name, and I can't remember it. And then I'm gonna probably do 5 pots of sweet potatoes. I'm not doing potatoes again. They don't get big enough in the pots. They don't like the pots. So if I did potatoes, it'd be in the ground, but it's really just not worth it because it's $17 for like 5 plants or 6 plants, and it's not enough. I don't get enough potatoes from that. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the vacant lot garden. Now this one I'm planning to do a doozy on this year. So let's go up to the top of the hill. I actually went there and measured the whole thing out so that this is as accurate as it can get. And the plan is to go there sometime in the next month or two and lay down 6 or 7 inches of wood chips so that I'm not fighting with the weeds next year. And like, I'm going to do a whole lot of work there, hopefully, in November and December. If I actually get to it, I'll post a video about it. That'll be separate. But here's the plan. I'm not reading the whole thing. You can just kind of look at it. This silver line is a trellis arch that I'm going to try and put in there. And the red is walkways. And yeah, there's a lot of like weird shortenings because it didn't work. Like this is coxcomb, zinnias, nasturtium, marigolds, cucumbers, echinacea. Couldn't remember that one. But yeah, eggplant, anything I couldn't fit in the box. Kale, buckwheat, bok choy. But yeah, peppers, tomatoes, beans. Basically, I'm trying to grow enough food for the entire family. Yarrow and agasach, I believe. Winter squash. Yes, I'm trying to grow enough food for the entire family off of this. This year I got a lot of tomatoes and 2 white scallop squash and a handful of beans. That was what came off of there. But considering there were 2 or 3 tomato plants, 2 squash plants that didn't come up until like October, and 1 bean that climbed up a single ear of corn, but since it was by itself, it didn't pollinate. Oh well. I did alright. Okay, these... I have no idea what I shortened there. Snapdragons. Sorry, it took me a minute. Alright, and this is going to be the summer squash. For the winter squash, I'm not buying them this year because I've just had such bad luck with the seeds, but we did have winter squash that we bought at the store that I have saved the seeds from, so that will be what I put in here. We'll see if that actually grows, but considering my luck with squash, probably not. But yes, this is the very overly complicated. Yeah. It'll look even worse later on when I start to fill in the actual names of the varieties going in each of these sections. Alright. So now I'm going to show you a quick so that was what I have planned to plant. Now I'm going to show you how I set this up so that you can make one yourself if you want. Okay, so this is like a very basic. This was actually me taking notes, and I just copied it over so that I can show it to you. So this is how you would set it up. So I don't know, what should we put? Here, I'm putting yarrow. No, that's not a good one. That's perennial. What don't I have on the list? Radishes, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, carrots, onion. Let's put in onion. So that's onion. So you can fit like 9 onions in a square foot or something like that. So then for your first plant date, you're going to want Actually it's not here, but I have a separate sheet all the way over here. Here we go. With the frost dates. I'll just pull that up quickly. See, and I list the year and when the first and last projected frost dates are in the area. And that way, if I ever have multiple areas, I could list by multiple areas, or if I move, it doesn't screw up the whole sheet because it's only one frost date. Okay, so you would take this, you're going to go, hey, equals, I don't know where the bracket came from, and you're going to go back over here to the frost dates. You're going to click on the first frost date, like that. Okay, so you're going to come back from clicking on the first frost date. Alright, and we're going to subtract from the frost dates because we're going back. So this is how many weeks before the first frost date that you would plant, right? So we're going to subtract, we're going to open this up because parentheses, so you want that date right there. And then you got to do times 7 because it's in weeks and not days. And you're going to hit enter, and there we are. Because this is blank. So now we're going to go here and just double check. Okay, so that's going to be frost dates again. Alright, I'm just going to drag this down. You have to add the dollar signs before the B and the 3 so that it always uses that box. This is on Google Sheets. I don't know if Excel is any different. So then for this one, this is the transplant date, so you're going to get the frost date again. I'm not doing it. You're going to get the frost date. So you would hit equal, you go and get the frost date. I'm just going to use a blank box here. Okay, then you're going to add the weeks to transplant. So open parentheses, the weeks to transplant box. There we go. Times 7, because again, it's in weeks, and you're going to go like that. Okay, and it should say 0. Yep, just double checking I have this right. Okay, and then I'm going to just drag this down so it copies into the frost date because I don't want to go back and forth to that page. Okay, and this is going to be your last plant date. So again, you're going to get the frost date. And this is just going to be minus the days to maturity, which isn't perfect, but for most things, this will work. So it's simply the last frost date, so equals last frost date minus this box here. And that'll give you your last plant date. Like so. Okay, and now frost date range. So these want to be usually planted 8 to 12 weeks, and this is off of the 12 weeks we did it. So you actually have a 4-week grace period if you miss the date. Next is date to maturity, which is going to be 180. Weeks to transplant, you're going to plant them, I believe 8 weeks. Okay, I was wrong. I actually ended up changing the formula in this box, but I did not type it here. This is an old version. So this actually has nothing to do with the frost dates. So you're going to actually take this out. This is going to be that date plus weeks to transplant because you're going off of this. I screwed that up. Okay? Now when you actually type in weeks to transplant, which is 8, hit enter, it has the correct transplant date. So I'm just going to drag that up here. Sorry, I didn't realize I had my test messed up. Okay. Yes, now it's right. See, and now they changed so they actually have the right dates. Except the peppers, because those are 8 weeks to transplant. That's alright, these are just like random numbers, they're not correct anyway. Okay, and so the last box that we're going to fill in is the projected harvest date, which like I said is equal to the date first planted plus the days to maturity. The day first planted plus the days to maturity. Sorry, it's trying to fill it in itself. And hit enter, and you're projected to harvest the onions in July. And then these are notes to me to transplant when the azaleas are in bloom, because if you use stuff actually out in nature, it's more accurate because it changes every year, right? Plant when daffodil, yeah, that was a horribly spelled daffodils. Okay. Okay, so this is how you would fill in. This is to tell you when to plant everything. Now let's move on to the harvest calendar. Okay, so this is my harvest calendar. So it works something like this. This is the date that you put something in the ground. It's pretty simple, right? Plant date. Based off of that, it's going to use the thing from the planting calendar here, the transplant. So it's kind of how this works. It's going to use the same formula. It's going to say weeks to transplant times 7. So it's going to take this here. So it's this plus this times 7. Because, again, this is weeks. And that will give you this number. So let's just do that quick. So this is onions. Okay, onion. So let's say we planted the onions 1, 22, 26. There we go. That's when we planted the onions. So then this box is going to be equals to this plus, we're going to go back here, the weeks to maturity times 7. Enter. And voila. That means it gets planted outside on the 19th of March. And now the harvest date is more simple than that. It is this. So it's equals to the onion plant date plus, and we're going to go back here, plus the days to maturity. Enter. And they will be ready on July 21st. All right, and now this is, I'm showing you how to do this each individually, but what you would do is once you have that, if you drag down, it should work. Obviously it's good, but it will over here increase the number by 1 each time. So once you have the first box filled in, you can just drag that down for as many pieces, things as you have, for as many different varieties as you have. So I have like the whole thing down to 30 on that other sheet, so I just had to enter the first one and then drag the whole thing down, and it put all the numbers in for me, so that all I had to do was fill in the information. Like for this, all I would have to do is fill in the plant date, and it would figure both of these out for me. And you have to fill it out all the way across, because if you drag off like this, the numbers are going to be wrong. The sheets can't figure it out. Okay, so final thing, which you didn't see on the other, is a test garden. So here, this is, you saw how I had it set up. Well, you can link this in a very, very complicated formula to the other boxes. So for instance, this just says radishes. So if you wanted to put in later a specific type, you knew you were going to do radishes, but you didn't know which variety of radishes, you could, or you could just type this by hand. You really could. But I have it set up this way because I just wanted to give the option. So you would put concentrate, which you usually only have to type CON and it'll come up. So concentrate Consonate, sorry. Consonate, I can't. So in there, you're going to find the name, comma, a space. All right, so that's the name, which is here, comma, a space. And you got to put these quotation marks around it. Okay, that's even better. So quotation mark, space, quotation mark, comma, text. Then you want the text of the, click off the box now. No, it won't go away. Don't know what I did there. Okay. So then you want the date. You're going to go back here and get the date that you planted it. So it's coming off the harvest calendar. So you're going to get the date that you planted it. These are color-coded for planting dates, so they're easier to find on this sheet. So you would come here and you would say radishes. I planted them that date. You'd click the box. You'd come back. Then you're going to put comma, month, date, year, or however you want the dates to set up. So I have it month, date, year. So you could just do 2 Ys, I believe. If I wanted to, I could come in here and go back and hit enter. And now it only has the 26. It doesn't have the 2026. I'm going to add that back because it just looks nicer in the box with the 26 in there. Again, this has to be within parenthesis marks. Yeah, no, quotation marks. Sorry, it has to be within quotation marks. And then you're going to close your thing, and then you're going to comma, open quotation, dash, close quotation, comma, and then you're going to do the same thing for the second number. So here we go again. I don't know why it's doing that. And that would be there. Alright, now I'm going to show you how you would set up one of these boxes. So you're going to go here. You put C-O-N. No. Sorry, you're going to go here, you're going to hit equals. Equals. C-O-N. Append one string to another. That's the one you want. Concatenate. Okay. It's weird. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Alright, so then you want to come to your harvest calendar. Now, you don't actually want your plant date because that's not when it's going in the box. You want your transplant date. So that's going to be your I'm sorry. We're not starting with that. We're starting with the name. Okay, so we want our name. Then we want a comma. Then we want a space. Then we want a comma. Then we want our transplant date because that's when it's going to go into the box. But that has to be in a text. 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 Yay, text. And a comma. And we want it in the month, day, year format. Like so. Okay, and then we want a dash. And then we want text. We want this text, the harvest or projected harvest date. And we also want that in month, day, year. But I forgot the all-important quotation marks. So we'll only read it if you add quotation marks. Then you're going to close the box and you should be able to hit enter. And there it is. The color I did manually. You can't. I mean, you probably could link that, but that's more time than I want to spend doing this. And that would be how you would add that. But yeah. You can't drag this one, which is why I said you could always just enter this manually, because you're going to have to copy and paste and then change the numbers on each one for each box. And now I got rid of it because I did. Okay, so that would be how you would set this whole thing up. Yeah, that's the end of the video. I will try and link the seed catalog video here. Once I get the catalogs, we'll see when that happens. Thanks for watching.